Welcome everyone to the panel on rare sets here on Building on Bitcoin Virtual Summit. Thanks, Kyle, for the intro. Today we're joined by Elizabeth, Head of Growth at Xverse, Michael, Head of Digital Art at Sotheby, and Quary, founder of Magisat. Good morning, everyone. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good evening.
Or good evening for some, that's right. It's definitely an interesting panel to be moderating alongside you guys. Rare sets have interestingly taken Bitcoin by storm, whereas 1 year ago, all sets were seen as fungible, and there were no distinctions, no ability for collectors to do the way that they do with dollar coins, dollar bills, and seek rarities, collect different things that appeal to the inherent human desire to collect rare things, right? And even Halfini predicted that we could one day bring digital trading cards to Bitcoin. So it's very, very fun to see this coming to life. It's a very new but promising market. And in just 1 year, it went from nothing to being one of the oldest and most important auction houses in the planet. And so before we jump into more of the specifics and talk with Michael about Sotheby specifically, I wanted to hear from Query, what are rare sets exactly, how they came about, and perhaps provide our listeners, our viewers, with a nice framework that they can use to understand this market and get started.
Yeah, so thank you, Namcios. I think the best way to think about rare sets is comparing them to rare coins or rare banknotes. I think this analogy is spot on, but instead of having rare coins, we have Satoshis. Ordinals introduced this new way of thinking about a Satoshi, where not all sets are equal because we now have a tracking system for them. And by introducing this tracking system, we were able to detect if one particular set goes way back to like Satoshi's wallet or was involved in some famous transaction on Bitcoin, such as the 10,000 Bitcoins paid for a pizza. And just by having that small thing, everything changed. The game changed because now you have in your wallet a lot of different Satoshis, each with its own history, each with its own ID. So that automatically transformed rare sets into a very nice collectible with incredible properties. We've been in the market early on and noticed this, and also noticed that there weren't tools at the time to easily handle this set. So initially, set hunters and people passionate about rare sets were having a hard time to move them around, to collect them with Sparrow and stuff like that. But now everything is changed, and we have these amazing tools for collectors. And we have a lot of people that are putting up super nice collections of rare sets. People tend to value the fact that their Satoshi was at some point in Satoshi Nakamoto's wallet, or was at some point involved in a pizza transaction, and that gives a certain value to your Satoshi. On another note, people use rare sets as canvases for inscribing art, and you can think of that like scribbling your art on a super rare banknote. Let's say you have a banknote that was at some point, I don't know, at Abraham Lincoln or something like that, and you're an artist, you have the possibility to like scribble your art onto that banknote. And if you're a good enough artist, then you don't mess up the banknote. It gets additional value. So this is basically happening right now with rare sets, and it's an amazing feature, and it draws in a lot of collectors. And rare sets are also tradable as fungible tokens. For example, in the pizza transaction, we have a lot of Satoshis, and they can be traded as fungible tokens. And yeah, this is what we're trying to do and educate people about at Magisat. And we love to see that Sotheby's been taking the lead on this and doing an auction on rare sets.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's been very interesting to see this rise from the early days where people were just focused on inscribing memes and random images to Bitcoin. And then when the rare sets, so to speak, meta began, then people, yes, like noticed what you just said, that the rare sets are indeed a great canvas for artists to build on. But then you touched on a point that I think is very important, which is about the infrastructure of tools, because back in the day it was very hardcore, so to speak, to do rare sets. But nowadays we have tools like yours and also like Xverse that are natively supporting rare sets. So Elizabeth, I'd love to hear from you your perspective working, backstage in an infrastructure provider, how challenging, how big of a leap it was to first become aware of this market and then to actively develop and deploy tools that are geared towards the artists and the collectors of rare sets.
Yeah, sure. Great question. So I think as a wallet, we had to really overcome really two main challenges. First, around the user experience. I think it's important to remember that Bitcoin itself wasn't initially designed to be non-fungible. So the Ordinals protocol actually acts as a layer on top of the Bitcoin network. So it doesn't make any changes to Bitcoin itself, but it's a very nascent ecosystem that doesn't directly support this protocol yet. So as a result, people were accidentally sending away their ordinals, BRC20, rare sats as Satoshi payments. Since they are Satoshis, they didn't realize that this isn't something that you can just treat like an NFT as something that's individual. It's something that can actually be bundled up into a UTXO with other commons and rare sats. So yeah, people were accidentally sending these away. So the first thing that we had to address as a wallet, and the main need that we saw and wanted to get involved in this space, was that, hey, we need to actually separate these rare Satoshis out from the payment address. So that's exactly what we did. We created two different addresses, one for the payments, Bitcoin that's sent as a payment, versus those that are stored safely for recognizing ordinals and rare sats. And we are actually the first wallet to ship support for that. And now we also have become the first wallet to support rare sats, as well as producing basically a warning so that whenever somebody's trying to transact with their payment address and it still has rare sats in it, if they have yet to extract it using a service like Magisat or Magic Eden, then they can actually go and see the rare sats and inscriptions in that transaction. So before they sign it, before they send it away, they can see, oh, look, I have a palindrome, or I have this inscription in my payment address, so I should go and extract that. So that's the first thing that we ship to support. And then I think another challenge that we have to face as a wallet is, okay, well, with rare sats, which ones do we support? Which ones do we show in the wallet? Because ultimately the definition of rarity is pretty much arbitrary. Anybody can say, oh, I think this is a really cool way, like mathematical or historic attribute that Bitcoin has, so you guys should support it. So yeah, I think it was definitely a challenge to figure out what made sense. Of course, we started with supporting the Rotomar Rarity Index, and then we've since expanded to 30 exotic sats. So now people can view those beautifully displayed in the wallet without accidentally sending them away. And I think it's really just the beginning for rare sats in general. The popularity is increasingly rising. But I think ultimately this boils down to education, because there isn't something that's similar like this on other major chains. You don't really have this concept of rare sats because Bitcoin is the biggest UTXO chain. So I think initially inscriptions really was rising in popularity first because people thought, okay, inscriptions, we can wrap our heads around this. This is like NFTs, or like BRC20. This is like ERC20. But now with rare sats, this takes, a new layer of depth and education that I think people are just starting to recognize and get excited about, which is fantastic, because I think, people in the Bitcoin ecosystem, this is really a more, I would say, educated user base, people who are really into the tech. So it's really exciting for us as a wallet to see people get more immersed into the ecosystem through this lens. And I would also say that Xverse has contributed to the rise in popularity of rare sats, so that now people can see them and store them safely in their wallet. So yeah, it's been exciting last months for us.
Yeah, I can only imagine how big of an uphill climb that was to add support to such a new thing. And that definitely laid the groundwork, right, for this market to go more into the mainstream, and to arrive at something like Sotheby's, which has been around for centuries. And so definitely wouldn't have taken the spreadsheet hardcore wallet route. And so it's good to see this infrastructure arising. And so Michael, I wanted to kick it off to you, to hear a bit more about when you personally, and also Sotheby's as a company, started to get more aware of rare sats, and what was the turning point that made you guys want to explore this as well?
Personally, I think it's very connected to Ordinals, and I've been looking at Ordinals very early on when we had to host the Ordinals on a Sparrow wallet, and I was very interested to see actually a new blockchain enabling the securing digital ownership. But back then I understood that it was way too soon for Sotheby's to interact with it, because there were a need for the whole infrastructure environment to be built. But I know that the demand was very high, even though the user experience was terrible back then. So it was just a matter of time before great tools like Xverse and also specialists like Quary really start working and building the right tools for increasing the experience for the users and the collectors. And so I kept really following, chatting with some of the main actors in this space. And then it was, I think, once everything was built around, I think it was the right time to bring Sotheby's. And Sotheby's, just to give a little intro, so as you said, it was established in 1744, and since then we always been really the leading platform for exceptional art and luxury objects. And we are very known, people most of the time know us for the art side of it, but we are also extremely present in the collectible and luxury side. We are present in 40 countries and have 70 different specialist categories, and going from modern art, contemporary art, then collectible, sport memorabilia. So it's really diverse, and for each category we have the best experts. And similarly to NFTs, when we ventured in NFTs in early 21, I think one of the reasons Sotheby's is still leading the market for this high tier of rare items. It's because we knew how to reinvent and also listen to the younger generation trends and interest. And we've done it with also when we opened a sneakers department, for example, and now we are leading the market for sneakers and selling some of the most valuable sneakers at auction or private sales. And with the Satoshis, personally, what I find very interesting, I think, as Quary said, it's really, really connected to numismaty and ancient coins, and we can see the same behaviors of the collectors. there is like the factual elements when that makes certain satoshis rarer than others, like the date, the origin, and then there is like the story behind that. Like each satoshi is connected to certain events that is can be considered like as a milestone for the Bitcoin, etc. And what I find fascinating is that it's really for the first time that collectors are able to get a part of the coins itself that is non-fungible, and so also having a part of the story of it. And if we look today, of course the crypto industry, it's very important, but the culture also I think is very strong, but still very niche. And we could expect in the 10-15 years this crypto culture to continue to grow, and owning this type of satoshis will I think be even more of interest for some collectors who want to be part of this culture. Also in terms of the market, to give you, because it's still a small market when we look more broadly, but to give you an idea, in November and December, there have been 80 Bitcoins of trading volume, so about 2.5 million USD. January and February, it's already the double of that, with 50% higher, with 120 Bitcoin trading volume, and which is 5 million USD, and 30,000 individual clients. So I think, and so we see like in just 2 months, like a 50% growth in terms of trading volume, but still the average price per Satoshi is being relatively low at 450 USD per Satoshis. And so as we see like the adoption continue to grow, we should see this average price getting higher, and also like some new record price being achieved. And our role, and similarly to what we've done with NFTs, is really to bring curation, like access to the education of it. And it's a very technical space, and I think for everyone who's very already involved in Bitcoin, and especially in mining, etc., like it's really it's the access to understanding the different aspects of the Satoshis is really easy, but for the wider public, I think it requires a lot of education. And so we will try with our sales, including one that will launch today at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We'll launch the first curated sale with about 23 lots that will give a great overview of all the different Satoshis and attributes we can find, and going from very different values, from $500 to hopefully a record price, which we achieved last month when we had 3 Satoshis in an ordinal sale.
Yeah, that's a very helpful overview of the from zero to hero at Sotheby's and rare sets. It's definitely a relationship between Sotheby's and the market that's very good to see, and I think also plays a big role in pushing it forward, right? I think when you mentioned education, that's also something big for us, both at Bitcoin Magazine side in the writing and reporting, and also on the Rare BTC side, our brokerage arm, to educate buyers and sellers as well. So we're almost at time here. So to finish it off, I wanted to go one by one. Just share your favorite type of rare set and why, very succinctly. And then let us know where the viewers can find you. Elizabeth, you want to start?
I was just saying, I think that's a tough question. I think palindrome, of course, is fun. There's also this concept of like sat names, which I think are super interesting, around like this alphanumeric ordering of the names, so that you can actually eventually like find your name on a Satoshi. So I think that's a really fascinating concept, and one that I think, yeah, people will start to get really hyped about down the road. Oh, and my Twitter handle is my name, Elizabeth Olson, but my last name is OLS0N. There's many of us on Twitter, so Elizabeth Olson with a 0 at the end.
Awesome. And then Quary and Michael, really quick, what's your favorite type of rare set?
I think my favorite type is palindromes from block 9. Block 9 being the first block that ever hit circulation. And palindromes are something that I personally love because they have this mathematical beauty, and I'm more mathematically inclined. So yeah, I guess that's my favorite. I invite people to enter Magisat.io to see all of them categories that we've put up. And if they want to follow me on Twitter, my handle is const_quary.
And also, I wanted to talk about the SAT names. I think it's also to echo what Elizabeth said. It's really interesting that the randomness of it, and that it's extremely like the chances that there is some sequence of number that makes that creates some names that are identifiable. And I think it's also very undervalued, and we have about 5 names in our sale upcoming, and these are really great names. And I think it's also more tangible for people who don't really get some of the trades that are sometimes more technical. Here it's like really easy to understand the value, and there can be also an emotional attachment to some names if you talk to them. But to say also another set I'm interested in, it's like the pizza, just because I think the story is like very, very known even for those who are not into crypto at all, and tells a lot also on the early stage of the Bitcoin.
Awesome.
Can I quickly ask something? I just want to say that I love that Michael mentioned the pizza sets, and I was like this close to saying that they're my favorite because they could well be the first meme coin ever.
There you go. So I guess we'll need another panel to explore that teaser. But yeah, thanks everyone, Michael, Quary, and Elizabeth. I appreciate you joining to share your thoughts. And thanks to all the viewers at Building on Bitcoin. Enjoy the rest of the day.